Okay, I'm Sarah Velasquez. I'm the communications coordinator. I am at KU Med, and we have some guests here today that are going to speak to us about hitting careers in biotechnology and biomedical research. So I am actually going to let them introduce themselves so they can give you some background information. Please remember that everybody should fill in an evaluation for this seminar, and please give it back to your coordinator. I wanted to let you know that all of the pictures are now up on our Facebook page and website from the symposium, so please go on there and tag your friends and download any pictures you like. Please remember that we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, and I want to say there's something else, Flickr. So please find all the cool information that we put out there, and if you have any question where those are, talk to your coordinators and they can give you that information. And so I'm going to hand it over to our speakers now, and please enjoy the presentation.
All right, hello there.
Hi.
My name is Saiday.
I'm Dominique.
Dominique, yes, and we're part of Aerotech. Aerotech is the largest recruiting firm nationwide, and so our plan today really is to give you more of a perspective on where the industry is in the science world, medical world, outside of academia, basically. As well as some principles that we encourage and coach people on a daily basis as to how to present themselves when you're with a manager, and some key principles that you can use when you're going to get your postdoc and wanting to go down that route. Pretty much these are principles really that you can use in any industry you're wanting to pursue. So, but just some key things that we've seen with the different types of chemists and biologists and microbiologists, no matter where you're wanting to go in the medical or science field, that we've kind of collaborated in do's and don'ts and things to take with you as you pursue your career path. So yeah, we'll just kind of get started. If you want to take your notebooks out, and some of the principles you might already know, which is good. Just things you want to make sure to brush up on. It could help out. And if at the end we'll do a question answer time for us, as you might have some questions about hiring and where the industry is going, and we can definitely answer those as well too. Aerotech is #1 nationwide for scientific recruiting and staffing. So we talk to a lot of science companies as a whole in the chemical field, in the medical field. I mean, pretty much any industry you can think of. We talk with managers all day long of what they're looking for in a candidate who's interviewing for one of their positions and that kind of thing. So, anything you want to say as well, Dom?
Good.
You're good there?
Summed it up.
Did I sum it up? All right. Fantastic. Well, so the first thing I wanted to talk about, especially like when you're pursuing the thing you want to go down, is to definitely research everything you can humanly possible about that field you're wanting to go into, and with the opportunity that you're wanting to pursue. So if you're wanting to, go and get your postdoc, and we're definitely dissecting that the school, even the professors and instructors that you're going to encounter, get some intel about that as much as you humanly possibly can, just to make sure that that is the path you want to go. I don't think, just from even the people who have masters and bachelors, a lot of times you get your certificate right when you graduate, and then it's kind of like, okay, so where do I go? And then you just, we see a lot of times new grads applying to everything that's science related, right? Just to get going. I would very, very encourage you to take the time and think about that opportunity before you apply, whatever it may be. If it's getting your master's, doing that, or postdoc, or a company down the street that, like a Bayer crop science or a Bayer animal health, definitely take the time to research that particular company and what they do on a daily basis. Because the number one question that every hiring manager asks is what do you know about us? We get it all the time, and sometimes, we've all been there. When you're looking for a job or you're looking for an opportunity, you're just so about, hey, does it pay well? Is it, do I qualify for it? Which are important things, but you want to make sure it lines up with where you want to go for sure. So number one thing, research the company, and is it aligned with what I want to be doing on a daily basis? And then what I would do as well too is to put it to, I would say, like a first choice, a second choice, a third choice in your career path on where you want to go. Maybe you want to go down the chemical route and go into the chemical industry. Maybe you're open to animal health. Maybe you're open to the pharmaceutical world. Definitely rate that for yourself, and we encourage that on every new grad that we're talking to on a daily basis, and to let us know, okay, your first choice here, and then if you're not able to find an opportunity that matches what you're looking for in that particular state or city or wherever you want to live, then go down through the list on the second choice and then the third choice, and really outlining that out for yourself before even looking online for an opportunity or contacting a school about what they have to offer. So anything you would want to say on that?
It can definitely be overwhelming. So just having a strategy or a game plan is definitely important. I ask people often what they're looking for, and it seems like an easy question, but oftentimes people say, I don't know. And it's really good to, like Saiday said, just research what you're looking for or what you're interested in, and just kind of have a game plan. So.
Yes, game plan, crucial, number one thing you could ever have, because there is an opportunity in the field that you're wanting to go into, and it may not be open and available at that very moment, but depending on how bad you want it, in due time it will come open. I definitely not only believe it's going to happen for you, but have seen it happen in the past. You never want to just go for it just because you need something now. I would definitely, and it's great what your colleges and your area has already set up, where you're able to gain that industry experience before pursuing the opportunity, because that allows you the opportunity to not only have the experience, but to be able to pay some bills and things of that nature before really finding the opportunity you want to go down, hit down the road. So take the time now to start looking into that and putting that game plan together for sure. So moving on, another thing that we recommend as much as possible is to, once you've got your game plan and know where you want to go into the science world or the medical industry as a whole, now finding different associations associated to that particular field. Number two thing I would write down for sure is to get into any kind of networking event. There's plenty. That's how, as recruiters working with Aerotech, that's how we get in contact with the hiring managers and companies that we're wanting to look for business with, is those networking events. And then we get to talk to the managers and supervisors in those fields, and we ask them questions as to what kind of candidate are you looking for, what kind of background. And that's when they tell us, like, hey, I'm looking for someone who has a biology degree or a chemistry degree or microbiology degree or biomed combination or biochemistry. So definitely definitely do that, because now you're in front of the decision makers. That's something that people don't do enough of. I can't tell you how many events that I've been on. I've been with Aerotech for 5.5 years and scientific division for a good portion of the 5.5 years, and I've seen maybe 1 or 2 students show up to an event like that. Those hiring managers are after that particular person who's willing to take the time out of their school schedule and maybe on the side on the weekend going to a networking event and talking to hiring managers. And I know that's just another additional thing on your plate, of course, but it's definitely worth it, because now you're networking and you're building that relationship. There's so much in pursuing any opportunity you want that has to do with relationships. And maybe that particular hiring manager doesn't have an opening right now, but he knows the other hiring manager in the science world that you're looking for. He's in contact with all the managers and all the key decision makers within the field of wherever you're wanting to pursue. If that's in in the pharmaceutical world, if that's in the chemical world, or you might see a Bayer manager there, and he knows all the different animal health managers because they all get together. So networking, being a part of those associations are key. And the way you can get a part of those organizations is pretty basic. It's literally going online, Google, typing, pharmaceutical associations, biomedicine associations. I mean, it's pretty basic. Whatever field, even chemical association. There's an association for every single life science opportunity out there. So,
and using Bayer as an example, their hiring managers are at networking events very
all the time.
Often, and they might not have an opportunity at that moment that's a great fit, but they have actually referred candidates, students to us, so we can, and they've given a great recommendation, and so we could find them something, or have them in the works for when there is an opportunity. So again, just taking the time to go to those events or meeting with those people may not pay off and on the front end, but definitely will in the future.
Yep, in the long run for sure. And then once you've done that, I think the next crucial thing is definitely building your resume. And you guys are all doing that. Having that lab experience on top of the degree is everything. I can't tell you how many times where hiring manager would see a resume and says, "Oh, that's great. What types of instruments have they used in a lab, right? What kind of, have they had any experience with developing methods or validating, methods as well too." Definitely go above and beyond just learning about that information. Definitely do that, and make sure above all that if you've had the experience working on various instruments and have developed methods and that kind of thing, make sure it's reflecting on your resume that you're sending out to hiring managers, and also I'm sure with going into getting your postdoc, making sure it's on there, because it's crucial. They won't know until they see it. And I think the term I've used before is, you don't know what you don't know as well too. So definitely research the company, research that opportunity, and then if you match what you're pursuing, make sure your resume or CV reflects exactly the qualifications on it. Exact. Because you've got to think, a lot of people see job descriptions. I was actually talking to a chemist a couple of hours ago, and she was in pursuit for a pharmaceutical chemist 2 spot we have in North Kansas City. And the very first thing on my job posting, and I post, and it goes on to all the job boards across the nation, is the number one thing I was looking for in this particular candidate is having pharmaceutical experience. And this is just it was a higher level position, not an entry level position, so they're wanting someone with at least 1 year of pharmaceutical experience. Very top thing. So I called her, because she was interested. She sent me her resume, references and all. And my number one question was, hey, do you have pharmaceutical experience? And her response was, no, but, I've had techniques that are very similar to it and all of that. In the science world, if it's on the job description, if it's on the qualifications, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, if it says that pharmaceutical experience is preferred, that's your opportunity to send your resume to that opportunity. So really taking the time and reading through any qualifications, no matter what you're pursuing, is crucial, and making sure that you align with that. And there is an opportunity that you do align with. It's just a matter of going through, what we call it, going through the numbers, so to speak, until you find that opportunity. It's crucial. And if you take the time to do that, it's going to be well worth it in the long run. The worst thing you want to do is to get into a lab it doesn't matter, chemistry lab, biology lab, forensic lab, whichever lab you can whatever situation it is, and be in over your head and not know what exactly to do. And that's something that the hiring managers and decision makers are trying to true up on the front end, so that not only do you have you're setting yourself up for a better, way of being successful, but you're also comfortable in the role going in, knowing that you have everything that they're looking for that particular position. So, anything you want to say about that? Okay. So, so number 2 on that. The third thing I have written down is the interviewing process. So first impression is key, and how you present yourself 100% matters. So what we've told people, and everything I just mentioned, should help you prepare yourself for that interview. Right? So you've researched the company, so you know all the ins and outs about what they do and the opportunity it is as a whole. You match, right, that particular opportunity. So through that gives you the confidence that you need on presenting yourself for a hiring manager, professor, supervisor, whatever it may be. So that naturally, because a lot of people are like, how should I present myself? How should I talk to a manager? Am I asking the right questions? Am I this? Am I that? All of that would be handled, it should be handled as you set yourself up that way. Like making sure you research the company, because now you know all about it. Now when the hiring manager is asking you questions, you can easily answer it because you've done your homework and researched that particular opportunity you're trying to pursue. You match what they're looking for qualifications-wise, right? So the selling for yourself is already done, and you don't have to be fake about it. That's the thing about it, because it's already in your niche and what you've been pursuing. So a lot of the hang-ups and the nervousness would be, in my opinion, I feel like you'll be a little bit more at ease going into an interview, and there's not a lot of things you have to just think of on the fly that and have to come up with to get the job. The work's already done ahead of time when you've done that research. That's the difference maker, I feel, and what's made our difference, especially working with Aerotech, being the number one science and recruiting firm in the nation, is that we take the time to educate every person about the entire company, the hiring manager, his personality, what they're looking for in a particular candidate, all of that on the front end, so that on the interview it's a walkthrough, it's a conversation of what, making sure it all meshes together. So definitely I would say in the interview, make sure you're dressing sharp for it. Make sure you're presenting yourself well. Make sure the little things, right? Shaking the hand, looking him in the eye, that kind of thing is also very, very helpful, and it does matter as well too. And I think it's kind of one of those where they're probably, I know your professors and instructors are already coaching you on that for an interview and making sure that you're doing those crucial things.
Right. Even just taking the time to role play. I know it's super uncomfortable, but role playing is it's uncomfortable, but it makes you loosen up, and they're going to ask you questions that may make you have to think, but then you've gone through that several times to where when you get that question or similar questions in an interview that you're going to be able to talk through it pretty easily.
Yeah, that's she brought up a great point. If you're nervous in I guess presenting yourself in a way, definitely go through some. And you could do that with a family member or a professor and walk through a basic interview, and you might need to do that just to kind of get some polishing for yourself and how you can present yourself well as much as you can. But more than anything, I think in the science world is making sure you've got the skills, the techniques, you've used the instruments. Those are the big things that we see that are number one, more than I guess the way you present yourself necessarily. I would say it's definitely a second. Number one, being a match. Number two would be how you present yourself. But if you do need some extra coaching there or would like to get some, you might as well do it. It doesn't hurt anything whatsoever. We've told people even as well too, definitely like sitting up in your seat when you're talking to a manager. Look, all the little things our parents teach us growing up, right? It's definitely a good thing to keep in mind and make sure to prepare going in. Definitely being early for an interview, 100% yes. Being 1 minute late, guess what? That manager, that professor, that instructor, all of them will know. Because they want to see how much it matters to you. Really, that's what it comes down to. And then how reliable you are. Me and Dom, we usually get to work early every day because it's what we want to do. It shows. It shows. Your actions show and reflect, if it's something you really want to do. So,
I would say eye contact is super important. Most of the time, that's my biggest coaching point for folks. They tend to look at the ground when they're explaining a situation. So make sure your body language and eye contact is all there, because you don't want people, doing this number.
Right. Absolutely. And that kind of goes back, because if you're excited about the industry and it's where you want to go, all of those key things tend to play out naturally. So definitely make sure you're interviewing for an opportunity that you're passionate about. That is another thing too, I think, is what we see is that's what helps you get that opportunity, is that passion. Making a personal connection to what you're doing. If it's the medical field or for example, what's made me really passionate about the scientific world as a whole, and the medical and science world, is my dad had ALS and passed at age 33 years old. So that was a huge driving factor for me, just to be in the industry. And if I can help find, the best chemists and the best scientists to be able to come up eventually with a cure for ALS, that'd mean volumes. And not only for me, ALS, but terminal diseases as a whole. So, and that's what's really drove me to want to be in that industry. So making sure to, and every one of you have pursued the avenue you're trying to pursue for a specific reason, make sure to state that with that particular hiring manager, because then they will know that it's more than just something cool my friend told me to get a degree in. Does that make sense? I hope that I'm kind of jiving with that. Is because if you're passionate about it, it shows, and it speaks volumes to not only when you're on the job, making that doing your work as a whole, because it matters to you at a whole different level than it just being a job. So you make your own career for sure, and make sure that it aligns with what your heart is telling you. So, yeah. All right. My next thing on the list is targeting. I think it's a lot easier to target something you're passionate about, and you'll do anything and everything to go towards it. So make sure that it kind of goes back to the very beginning. Make sure it's in line with where you want to be and what you want to do, because in my opinion, you should be more open to relocating if it's in your niche and what you're made to do. So definitely don't be afraid to go on 10, 15 interviews to get that opportunity that you want. Put feelers out there. Go to the networking events that are associated to your passion and where you want to go. Ask as many questions as humanly possible you can about that company. A lot of people think, going into an interview, maybe I shouldn't ask as many questions as well. You should be also interviewing that particular hiring manager for you. And hiring managers and leaders in those industries respect it. They respect it so much because you're taking that interviewing that situation to the next level. So ask the questions that you need so that you're satisfied in that particular role. So crucial to do that. And maybe we encourage people on an interview to take a notepad with them. So you're jotting down notes and you're writing it down, and you've got 3 to 5 questions for them, and making sure it aligns with what you need out of a position. Because success happens when it's all aligned that way. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. It's because then you're thinking of creative ways to make that company better, and that's what the particular hiring manager and every graduate office I know is wanting, is to make their industry better and to find people who are going to be that asset to them, and that would help you as well too. So definitely do that. In targeting only I would say the top 3 things that you line up on your sheet of where you want to go. Target and stick with those opportunities and companies that are associated and related to that. Don't move from it, because when you move, now you're trying to makeshift a situation to work for you, and it doesn't become your natural ness of where you want to go and what you want to do, and there's, I think we've all kind of had opportunities have heard from other people where they're not where they should be, and that's why, is because maybe in the beginning they went for everything, and whoever called they just went with, versus you going out and pursuing the opportunity that you feel is where you want to go and getting it. So you're set up great. Don't feel like the lack of industry experience is going to hold you back, because it's not. That is a complete lie across the nation. It just may take a little bit of time before you work your way into the ideal position where you want to go. But make sure it's aligned. You might have to start out with the basics. It might just be cleaning glassware, starting out working for Bayer Corporation if you're wanting to go into the crop sciences or the animal health. Or it may be SIVA as well too. They're huge nationwide for animal pharmaceuticals as well too, or you name it. It may just be the basic job in the role, but remember that it's a part of the process. I'm mastering the basics to add onto where I'm eventually wanting to go. So just make sure it all aligns and make sure you've done your homework to know that the opportunity working for them is going to get you to where you want to be in down the road. So
talk a little bit about how our industry has grown.
Yes. Yes, thanks for saying that. The industry, the science world and medical world, we're usually the first to know where the market is when it comes to hiring in companies as a whole, because these managers are calling us to have help on filling their positions all the time. From 2009, when I first started with Aerotech, till now, it's changed dramatically in a huge way. And we have more openings in the science and medical world than we do have people for it yet. And companies are literally, it's definitely a market for people who are looking for opportunities right now, I would say, than anything. Managers are looking for talent all over the place, looking for someone who's passionate about where their industry is going and wanting to help them get to where they need to go. Huge need. And what we've seen, even internally with Aerotech, we're hiring like crazy because we're trying to keep up with the volume of openings that we're seeing. So definitely, I would say, more than anything, be proactive in your searches. If you're graduating in May or whatnot, I would start sending your resume out and CVs out as soon as I would say March, April timeframe, and letting them know that, hey, I'm about to graduating, and setting yourself up and doing the networking, going on those networking events here in the next two to 3 months. Definitely, it's the time for sure to hit the ground running, and you want to make sure that you're ahead as opposed to being behind on opportunities, because especially if you're pursuing your passion, there's others that are pursuing the same thing you're pursuing. So definitely being proactive in that is crucial and will help you gain that opportunity sooner as opposed to later. So you don't have to go to your second or third choice. You can get your number one choice right out of the gate. So. Right.
We just had a meeting yesterday about growth. In our division, going back about 4 years, has grown substantially every year, and they just see that continuing, through the next couple years or several years. So that means there's lots of positions being filled, because that's how we grow. Mm-hmm. So especially in scientific, we do not foresee, a drop anytime soon. So, you're definitely in this great opportunity and in the right place at the right time.
Right. and our jobs, our entire industry is dependent on that. If there's here's a great question. I'll make sure to give you guys all my number and email after we wrap up here. But if you call my line one day and they say, hey, we had to lay off Saiday and Dom because it's kind of slowing the industry, then you'll really know if there is a slowdown. But that's not in any stretch of the imagination happening right now in our world, and it's the truth. There's definitely a huge demand on talent right now than I've ever seen in 5.5 years working in the whole hiring industry as a whole. So make sure your resume matches. Again, make sure that you're passionate about that industry, and make sure that you're doing your homework on that particular company before even thinking about applying with them, because they're all specialists in the field, and you're only going to save yourself time and also get what you want if you do that, for sure. Yeah, so I guess as of right now, we'll just open it up to you guys. Ask away on any question you want. There is no stupid question, right? And we're here to help in any way we humanly possibly can to get you to where you want to go.
I'll start.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. My name's Adam Sheepert from Kansas State, and I was wondering if BioKansas companies had any summer internship or job opportunities for undergraduate students who maybe didn't know or consider going about into industry before but want to get hands-on experience about what it's like?
Fantastic question. Internships, huge. That's great. Even what you're doing right now, 100% great. Companies do hire for internships all the time. Now, you just have to go after it. That's the big thing. And looking online for internship opportunities. Definitely do both. You want to immerse yourself in that industry as much as you possibly can, and adding those things on your resume, because a hiring manager is taking the time to read your resume and to go through it all. And that might make the difference on you being chosen versus another candidate being chosen. So 100% yes. And I don't know a company in town, honestly, that isn't providing an opportunity to do an internship. It could be a 2-week ordeal. It doesn't have to be a 6-month ordeal, or it could be something you come in on the weekends to do. There's so many types of versions and so many labs out there that just need extra support. So many chemists, science, it might be just cleaning the glassware like I mentioned before and helping out. But as long as you're around it, speaks volumes, because then you can see how things are being done, as if it's a slow pace environment versus a fast pace or medium pace, and do I like it, and that would help even in your decision making if you on your first choice, second choice, and third choice, if you get a chance to go in there and see it. So highly recommended for sure on that. Very great question.
Do you guys recruit for internships or?
Good question. We typically don't recruit on intern opportunities, but we know hiring managers in town that are looking for someone for an internship. And that's something we can partner up with you if that's where you want to, look into. And we can get you in contact with the hiring managers that we're talking to on a daily basis. That's an easy conversation.
Good way to get your foot in the door. And,
yeah.
Pursue those internships.
Granted, internships aren't going to pay anything really. I'm just going to be straight honest with you. But that's not what it's about. You need to hone your skills, and trust me, the industry, the science world will pay off in the long run. Just like any industry out there, you got to start in the beginning. And being open and willing to do that, the more open and willing you're able to do that, the better it's going to work out for you.
Saiday, and Dominique, what is your role as far as these students? Do you provide services for job seekers? Should they be working with you guys? Or you mentioned that they should contact companies, but what kind of services do you provide to job seekers?
Yeah, absolutely. I should be best friends with all of you. That's what it really comes down to it. We talk to hiring managers on a daily basis, and we can network you into the company and field you want to go, not only here in Kansas City. I mean, here we work with over 390 companies. And, I didn't even know there was that many companies in the science and medical world in Kansas City initially, to be honest with you. But the world is huge. And definitely we'll give you, our numbers and in email as well, too, so we can be in contact as you start pursuing the opportunities you want to pursue. But that's what the resource we can be for you, is that when you send your resume to me and it has the instruments you've used and where you want to go and on your resume and the lab experience you're doing right now with the program and having all those key things on your resume, I can go to bat for you with these hiring managers at Bayer Corporation. I know Bayer is one of my clients I work with on a consistent basis at both on the crop science side and the animal health side. So we can definitely network you with those hiring managers in the SIVA and the Teva Pharmaceuticals, and I mean, you name it. We can definitely partner with you to get your resume out there and to pursue the right opportunities.
Is this a fee per service from the seeker, or do you get a finder's fee from the employer?
Great
Who
question.
pays
Yeah,
for
there's
this?
no fee. We're a free resource
Yes.
for all of our candidates. So we're on your side to do our best to find the best or perfect fit for you. So there's absolutely no fee for that.
Yeah, 100%, like what she said, 100% free. Hiring managers, how it works with Aerotech is hiring managers pay Aerotech to find that particular person that they're looking for. And so they're paying for our services, not you. So
And that could be different with different recruiting firms.
Right, this
but
is true.
With Aerotech,
Yeah.
so it's not that, I think that everyone's the same.
Right. It's all 100% free. We can help you. We help and coach people on a daily basis to putting together the CV that the hiring manager is looking for, the resume that the hiring managers out there are looking for. And there's so many, I know you've probably seen it online, there's so many hundreds of different versions out there, but we're the, I mean, I don't want to brag, but we are literally number one in the industry, and there is this particular way that will get you more results in sending your resume versus ways that isn't. And we can help you with that coaching, and we have templates that what we've seen just from people interviewing and who's gotten jobs versus who hasn't, and we've collaborated these resume templates that we've seen work it doesn't work 100% of the time, I wish it did, but a good majority of the time, at least making sure to put your best foot forward.
Right, and a big part of our job is after our candidates go on interviews, we do an extensive debrief.
Yes.
So we know who they met with. We know what questions were asked. So when we have another candidate interviewing with that hiring manager or with that company, we can prep you, like these are typical questions they're going to ask. This is the type of interview environment there's going to be. You're going to go on a tour. You need to wear flat shoes, prepare for this. So things that you might not get on your own. And we do phone interviews with all of our candidates and also in-house interviews before we can submit you to a client, because we want to see how you interview, and we want to be able to coach you on those things you might not realize you're doing before you go on those interviews. So we're just kind of an extra tool you can use to even get comfortable with interviewing or just even feedback.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking on, just to add to that, is every one of your professors and instructors, make sure that you ask them to be a reference for you. There's no greater thing than for you to not only talk about how great you are, right, but then to have someone who could validate the instrumentation experience you've had in lab classes that you're taking, and even what you're doing right now in working in the lab. ask them to be that reference for you. And better yet, if they're open and have the time to put together a letter of recommendation, that's another thing I always encourage. Is because there's nothing better than your resume and 2 letters of recommendation coming from the lab that you've had in school for a hiring manager to see right up front. Another big thing that's made Aerotech where we're at today with hiring for science companies, and because that most people apply online and there's one position and they get, I can't tell you how many, if I put a chemist posting up in Kansas City, in about 48 hours I'll have over 25 resume of candidates that have their degrees and are remotely qualified in the sciences. But very few I see that has a resume and a couple letters of recommendation coming from their professor that they was in the lab class, took a lab course with. Huge, yeah. If you're not able to get if you're not able to get the letter, at least their phone number, name, and a time. I prefer if they would let me know what time, because they're busy. I know the instructors are busy, but a good time to contact them, because we use that to sell to the hiring managers on how awesome you are.
Any other questions?
This is Chase in Manhattan. This is more for postdoc or for PhD students, but I was listening to somebody recently, and they made this claim that if you have postdoctoral experience after your PhD, that companies don't want you. How do you feel about that statement?
Great question. And I think it just depends on the opportunity, I feel. Really taking a look at the industry and where you want to go. Sometimes I see where that particular person is coming from. That particular hiring manager may not have a PhD, but it's not a disqualifier in any way you can imagine. Who wouldn't want someone who is a lot more educated in the field than even maybe that particular person is? For the company and growth as a whole, better minds, the smartest minds together is what they're about, because you can come up with so much more and grow the company to where they need it to go. So you want as many assets as you possibly can have to be able to benefit the company. So having that is not a deal breaker. Now, their biggest question is sometimes, depending on the opportunity that you're applying for, let's just say if their requirements is to have just a bachelor's in the field and it's entry level, someone who's applying to, who's got their PhD is applying to one that has that minimum qualifications. The biggest question that hiring manager is this person who's got a PhD going to be satisfied with a lab tech position cleaning glassware starting out? Now, that's the question I always encourage people, and we talk to PhD candidates all the time. My biggest question is, are you going to be happy in that situation? And that is the question the hiring manager is asking as well too. And if that is something you're 100% comfortable with and you're adamant about it because you know where this could take you, then yes, you should apply for it. You should call that manager and pursue and explain why. That's another thing too. It doesn't hurt your chances on sending them an email on top of your resume saying, hey, I know I'm overqualified than your minimum requirements, but this is why I want to pursue this industry. They want to know. It's more of, because when a hiring manager has a posting, there's so many candidates that they might not even know that this is not the opportunity they're wanting to pursue, if you know what I mean. And so their biggest thing is they don't want to train a PhD major who doesn't want to be in this industry, and in 2 weeks or 3 months you find something that pays more or is a better opportunity, and then now that hiring manager is left off from square zero, and he's just invested 2, 3, 4, 6 months of his time to try to mentor someone out down that road. So that's what needs to happen more, I would say, is more of a reflection of, okay, if I am a PhD grad, is this where I truly want to be? Is this position truly what I want to do? Because I've seen it on my end as well too, where we have placed someone in who's had a PhD, and they're upset because they feel like they're not using their degree to the fullest potential, their education to their fullest potential. And honestly, they're they're right, because it is a basic role. So making sure that match is crucial. Again, kind of going back to that match is crucial.
But there is definitely opportunity in the area
100%,
for folks with
yes.
PhD. We've just had a couple positions that we filled that it wasn't required, but it was definitely a plus.
100%,
with the
yes.
postdoc, things like that too. So
Yeah.
Along those same lines, say you interview with somebody, and then you, from the interview, the questions that you ask, you determine that maybe this isn't the right opportunity for you. What is the best thing to do once you realize that?
We're very upfront with folks. Our goal is to find the perfect fit. So if are you saying for the student?
The student
for the
interview,
student.
They interview for a job, and then they realize during the interview, this is not right for me. Should they contact you and say,
Yes.
I want to withdraw my application?
100%, yes.
Right,
As soon as
yes.
humanly possible.
Yeah.
And
Sorry,
even
I
tell,
misunderstood.
even tell that hiring manager the same thing. It's the interview is not just for the hiring manager; it's for you as well. So if you're not getting what you need and where you want to go, it's okay to voice that to the hiring manager, so he's not thinking on the back end like, hey, I met with someone who's fantastic. Let me plan and get things organized so that we can prepare to hire someone. Because after they meet with you, they go to the HR department and seek approval to be able to afford having you onboarded. So, and there's a lot of costs involved. I mean, to hire one person in the science world costs, if I'm not mistaken, I have to double check, but I believe it's close to almost $10,000 that they're investing before you're even there. So that's what hiring managers are trying to veer away from as soon as possible.
Just being respectful of people's time.
Absolutely.
So if you feel like it's not the right opportunity, sending a really well thought out message, thanking them for their time, and maybe just hitting a couple points why it might not be the best fit, and then then that won't rule you out. If they know other people or
absolutely.
So,
and you never know even
question.
you never even know even on that interview, maybe that particular opening may not be the right match, but they might have a better opportunity that you're perfect for, that they just haven't taken the time yet because they're so busy putting orders out to be able to post online. So definitely, yes, just state and let them know what you're looking for, and most hiring managers are up to doing as best as they can to try to help you get there. And if it's not with them, but they might be able to network you with another hiring manager across the street with one of their competitors or wherever it may be.
I think we have time for one more question, and then we need to wrap this up. So is there one last question? Anybody? All right. I guess we really appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
We appreciate
You've
it.
given us a lot of good information, and I'll collect your contact information and I'll send it out to everybody. So
Fantastic.
we don't have to worry about anybody writing it down correctly.
Sure.
And so if you guys have any, I'll send out the contact information to your coordinators. So please collect that from them if you're interested in pursuing some of these opportunities. And I guess I'll see you guys next month.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks very
Thanks for
much.
having us.